Welcome students to our class 10th English Literature Short Stories 4th session. An Angel in Disguise by T.S. Arthur, 4th session. So please take page number 83. Page number 83, first paragraph. Okay, we'll continue. So the previous session we saw the encounter between Mr. Joe Thompson and Mrs. Joe Thompson regarding this Maggie, sick child. So actually Mrs. Joe Thompson did not like the action of Mr. Joe Thompson bringing the child home. So she protested, still she agreed to stay here for one day, and the condition that the next day itself she will be taken. But he saw that the attitude of his wife changed when she was talking with the child. Okay, let us see. On entering, Joe did not go immediately to the little chamber. His heavy tread about the kitchen brought his wife somewhat hurriedly from the room where she had been with Maggie. So Joe thought it best not to refer to the child, nor to manifest any concern in regard to her. So when Joe Thompson came from his workshop, he did not mention anything about a child. So how soon will supper be ready? He asked. Right soon, answered Mrs. Thompson, beginning to bustle about. There was no asperity in her voice. Asperity means harshness. After washing from his hands and face the dust and soil of work, Joe left the kitchen and went to the little bedroom. A pair of large, bright eyes looked up at him from the snowy bed, looked at him tenderly, gratefully, pleadingly. So that Maggie was looking from the bed very tenderly and thankfully to Joe, because he is the one who to save her from her house. Nobody was there to take care of her. So gratefully, pleadingly she looked at him. How his heart swelled in his bosom. With what a quicker motion came the heartbeats. Joe sat down, and now for the first time examining the thin frame carefully under the lamplight, so that it was an attractive face and full of childish sweetness, with the suffering heart not being able to obliterate. Obliterate means destroy. So now he observed that child, then he understood it is a very beautiful girl, even though the hardships and suffering that did not diminish the attractiveness of that child's face. Your name is Maggie, he said, as he sat down and took her soft little hand in his. Yes, sir. Her voice struck a chord that quavered in a low strain of music. Have you been sick long? Yes, sir. What a sweet patience was in her tone. Has the doctor been to see you? He used to come, but not lately. No, sir. Have you any pain? Sometimes, but not now. So Joe Thompson asked her many questions, simple questions, silly questions regarding her, and she very thankfully, very clearly she answered all these questions. Then he asked, when had you pain? This morning my side ached and my back hurt when you carried me. So I had pain this morning when you were carrying me. At that time my back ached. It hurts you to be lifted or moved about. So when somebody takes up or takes or carry or moving up, at that time it gives you pain. Yes, sir. Your side doesn't ache now? No, sir. Does it ache a great deal? Yes, sir. But it hasn't ached any since I have been on the soft bed. The soft bed feels good. Oh yes, sir. So good. What a satisfaction mingled with the gratitude was in her voice. Supper is ready, said Mrs. Thompson, looking into the room a little while afterwards. Joe glanced from his wife's face to that of Maggie. She understood him and answered. So Joe looked at his wife. What may be the answer or the meaning of that look? That whether did you give food to this child or not? That look she understood and she answered. She can wait until we are done. Then I will bring her something to eat. So until we complete our food, she can wait. First I will give her something. There was an effort at indifference on the part of Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson tried to act as if she is indifferent on the subject matter of this Maggie, but it was just an action. Part of Mrs. Thompson, but her husband had seen her through the window and understood that the coldness was assumed. Since Joe Thompson observed her through the window, he understood what she is doing now, that is just an acting. Okay. Assumed. Okay. Joe waited after sitting down to the table for his wife to introduce the subject uppermost in both of their thoughts, but she kept silent on that theme for many minutes, and he maintained a like reserve. Joe Thompson did not talk anything about Maggie or taking her to the poorhouse, and he waited for his wife to mention this topic, but she also remained silent. And finally, at last, she said abruptly means suddenly, she said, "What are you going to do with the child?" So she finally asked, "What are you going to do with the child?" "I thought you understood me that she was to go to the warehouse," replied Joe, as if surprised at your question. I think you know what we are going to do. Earlier we already discussed it, that she has to be taken to the poorhouse tomorrow. That you know. Mrs. Thompson looked rather strangely at her husband's for some moments and then dropped her eyes. So Mrs. Thompson, sometimes she looked at her husband's eyes and she dropped that eyes. The subject was not again referred to during the meal. At its close, Mrs. Thompson toasted a slice of bread and softened it with milk and butter. Adding to this a cup of tea, she took them into Maggie. So what was food given to Maggie? Mrs. Thompson toasted a slice of bread and softened it with milk and butter. Adding to this a cup of tea, she took them to Maggie. So this was the food given to Maggie, and held the small waiter on which she had placed them. Small waiter, where food to be kept, that one, small waiter on which she had placed them, while the hungry child ate with every sign of pleasure. "Is it good?" asked Mrs. Thompson, seeing with what a keen relish the food was taken. So she saw the child eating well, so she asked, "Is it good?" The child paused with the cup in her hand and answered with a look of gratitude that evoked new life old human feelings which had been slumbering in her heart for half a score of years. Half a score of years means 10 years. A score means 20 years. Half a score means 10 years. So here all the tender feelings arose in her mind. That we know that they are childless couple, and all the tender feelings they wanted to give to the child, that was missing for all this time, and now when they got a helpless child, so that feelings again came up. Well, okay, we'll keep her a day or two longer. She is so weak and helpless, said Mrs. Joe Thompson in answer to her husband's remark at breakfast time on the next morning, that he must step down and see the guardians of the poor about Maggie. The next morning during the breakfast time, Mr. Thompson mentioned that he is planning to go to poorhouse to meet the guardians and talk about this. So in reply to this, his wife told, "Let's wait 1 or 2 days. We will keep her a day or two longer. She is so weak and helpless." So this was the reply actually he wanted to get from her. And so for that purpose, we can say that for that purpose he mentioned this topic today. I am going to meet the guardians of the poorhouse. Actually, Joe Thompson did not want to part this girl, but he wanted his wife to mention this topic. So he acted in such a way. She will be so much in your way," he said. Joe said, "If we are keeping her 1 or 2 days more, it will be a big trouble for you, because she cannot walk, he cannot do anything her own, so it will be a bother to you. So that will be a difficult work for you. I shan't mind that for a day or two. Poor thing. I will not mind this for 1 or 2 days. Poor child, he cannot even walk or wake up. No, I don't mind it." Joe did not see the guardian of the poor in that day, on the next, nor on the day following. So that means Joe did not to go to see the guardians any of the days, because they dropped that topic of sending her to the poorhouse, and they already decided in their mind that they are not planning to send this child any longer. In fact, he never saw them at all on Maggie's account. For in less than a week, Mrs. Joe Thompson would as soon leave thought of taking up her own abode in the almshouse as sending Maggie there. So in 1 or 2 weeks, total attitude of Mrs. Joe Thompson changed. Even she herself was ready to go and stay in our house instead of sending Maggie. So they are not ready to part Maggie. Maggie became part of their house, part of their life. So they are not ready to leave Maggie any longer. What light and blessing did that sick and helpless child bring to the home of Joe Thompson? The poor wheelwright. It had been dark and cold and miserable there for a long time, just because his wife had nothing to love. For a long time their life has been miserable because his wife did not have anything to do, did not have anyone to love. So now they have a meaning in their life. So she became so irritable, ill-tempered and self-afflicting in the desolation of her woman's nature. So since nobody was there, the lack of a child in that family, her nature became like this. But now that is changed. Now the sweetness of that sick child, looking ever to her in love, patience and gratitude, was as honey to her soul. And she carried her in her heart as well as in her arms a precious burden. So now she carried that child as if it is her own. As for Joe Thompson, there was not a man in all the neighborhood who drank daily of more precious wine of life than he. So he also enjoyed more happiness in the presence of that child. An angel had come into his house, disguised as a sick, helpless and miserable child, and filled all its dreary chambers with the sunshine of love. So actually an angel came to their life to brighten up their activities, their life. So with this one is almost over, children. And here at the end of this session, I would like to ask you a question. Actually, who is the angel in disguise in this story? Is it Maggie or Joe Thompson? So this is a question for you. So you can answer in both can be the answer. Maggie is the angel in the life of Joe Thompson, but the same way an angel in disguise in the life of Maggie, that is of course Mr. Joe Thompson. So dear students, with this we complete this short story An Angel in Disguise, and your assignment is please complete the workbook. Okay, bye.